there. Do you want to eat more? Do you want to stress less? Do you want to feel great about your body? Well, of course you do. Hey, y'all, it's Virginia. Welcome to Cookbooks with Virginia. It's on every Friday at 11:30 a.m. And I get to talk to my favorite folks in the world, cookbook authors. And many of you know that I've been on this tremendous health journey the past couple of years. And I am thrilled to pieces to have on today Jackie London, author of Dressing on the Side. And y'all, this book is laugh out loud funny. I'm super excited to have her here. So Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here. You are one of my favorites, Virginia.
Oh my gosh.
This is fantastic. I'm just glad to be here.
I'm so we met going to Alaska. We met on that wonderful trip to Alaska.
It was amazing. That was amazing. And also we got to meet each other, which was also amazing. So
yeah, no, that's good.
All around.
I love this. I love your book. So y'all, first of all, I'm going to tell you that you need to win a copy of this book. You're going to go to my Instagram feed and you're going to see the cover. You're going to like me and then like Jackie, and then you can enter to win a copy. Jackie, this book is laugh out loud funny. It is wonderful and real. That's the part that I think is so amazing.
That means so much to me. I can't even tell you. It means so much to me, first of all, coming from you, but also because we were just talking about it before for a moment, and it brought me right back to these moments of like having that real talk with clients, like in that one-on-one environment where you're like, it doesn't matter. There's so many things that matter, and then there's so much that doesn't matter, and giving people that kind of peace back into the everyday moments of, I'm worried about this, or should I not have that? Might be toxic. Is that toxic? Right? Like having those moments of the very real kind of thoughts that come into our minds as we speak about food or think about what we're going to eat today. And I just sort of wanted to give people that sense of real peace and also give us all permission to laugh a little bit at like the silliness that comes up all the time around things related to food that can just be joyful and celebrated also.
So it is like food is, Natalie always used to tell me like food is a control issue. I mean, food is such a control issue in terms of like people that are feeding you and people being fed or feeding people. And we have all these hangups about food and weight. And there are so many crazy books out there. Eat this, don't eat that.
Right.
And I find, me personally, deprivation does not work for me.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for you, but truly it doesn't work for anyone, which is the great news, because, anytime, and I see this so often, especially during this kind of weird time of a sort of reemergence into the world. And I'm overhearing conversations. I was just at dinner last night, overhearing conversation that was like, oh, I'm not eating, or I'm avoiding, or I'm cutting out, right? And how many times those things come up in our everyday lives, it feels like, how are we supposed to figure out what we really like if we're so busy cutting all these things out because we think we should? And then how much power is there in the idea of thinking, I really like this, I really enjoy it, so I'm going to have as much as I like of it, and I'll be satisfied by the end.
Right.
And I talk about this so much in the book, which is the difference between full and satisfied. And I think that's just so critical, because full sometimes can have that feeling of I'm stuffed, but I still want to eat. But it can also have the feeling of I'm stuffed and I'm never eating again, right? Like there's lots of different ways we can feel full after we eat. But feeling really satisfied really implies the true enjoyment of the entire start to finish food experience. So whether that means, sourcing the ingredients, or making that new reservation at a restaurant that you're really excited to try, or grabbing, going to meet someone that you're really excited to share a meal with. Like that's all of the components that really go into how we truly gain that satisfaction from eating and enjoying and finding nourishment in meals with the people that we love and the food we love and the people with whom we love to share that meal, that food. And all
It's
about
also being mindful, right? There's a mindfulness to it, because it really is easy just to keep eating, right? And it's just whether it's like, oh my gosh, this tastes so good.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of that. Well, I want to go back to that, but you know, just being the mindful part of it, like recognizing like what you're eating, when you're eating, and not just going through the motions of putting food in your mouth.
100%, 100%. You know, it's interesting to think about how, and of course, you know, there's so many different components of this that are behavioral, right? Like that,
Right.
that there's so much behavioral science that goes into the idea of what does mindfulness really mean to you. And then there's, of course, like you said, the control issue, but there's also it's really like this boundaries issue. It's like, where are my boundaries and what is affecting them and why am I still eating right now? Right. Like, and once we start kind of questioning those things or just bringing some awareness to it, it changes the perspective. But what I focused on a lot in Dressing on the Side is that actually some of it is really physiological. It's really about the, like, what are you doing in the moment? How did you eat before you went into this, you know, deep dive into your pantry? Because if you didn't, then you're that much more likely to feel like you're about to, you know, have a takedown via your own chip bin or whatever, right? Like, it's that much easier to feel like you are not in control or in the driver's seat when it comes to what you're eating and how you're choosing food. There's also hydration is also a big factor in this.
Yes.
Right? Like, how hydrated are you when you're going into a meal or a snack, or how hydrated are you staying? And then sleep, which can also really affect how physically hungry versus satisfied we feel on a daily basis, which is just critical.
I know, you know, that is something that's so great that you brought that up, because I feel like that I have so much now. I feel like I'm in a lot more control, right?
Yeah.
Like weight loss and my exercise. I mean, I went for my walk this morning and I'm, you know, all the things, but sleep is still a missing piece for me.
Me too. Me too. Absolutely.
That's really challenging. So I know how smart you are, and I know all the things that you've done. Will you share with some of the readers how are you equipped to write this wonderful book? How are you equipped to do the work that you do, both at Good Housekeeping and now at WW? Like, tell us about the science, because I love that there's real stuff here. It's not like pseudoscience or some crackerjack diploma kind of, you know, thing.
Right. It's true. It's true. And there are plenty of crackerjacks out there, I will say. Wow. So I have a Master of Science in Clinical Nutrition and Dietetics from NYU. And I did my dietetic residency here in New York City at Mount Sinai Hospital, where I then was hired, which was amazing, and such an amazing experience. And I was just having a chat with someone the other day talking about, in my industry, having clinical experience is just unbelievably valuable to actually work with people in the moments in which true vulnerability is seen, right? Hospitalized patients. I mean, like, you can't imagine a more vulnerable moment in time, no matter what, whether you're there for something super positive or not, and whether you're there as a family member or the patient. It's difficult. And so having that experience under my belt of I work specifically with traumatic brain injury patients and spinal cord injury, and worked in the stroke unit at the hospital. And so I was really working with a wide range of patients, but because I was working in rehab, in the rehab part of the hospital, it's a much longer term stay than it is for someone who's just coming in for a quick surgery that can then be out the next day. But the reward of that for someone working in that environment is that it's a true team. You're really working with a team of people, and you're also working with a team of, you know, the support system around a patient and with the patient themselves. And watching that progress is something that I just feel like was just so invaluable for me. I don't know how to I don't know how to fully how to fully do justice to that experience without going into, you know, details. We could just spend days on that, but it really,
what an opportunity. I mean, really, and I bring that up not to just, like, you know, so that you can rattle off the alphabet behind your name, but there are a lot of wellness books, and eat this, not that, and, you know, it's faux science at best, and that's being nice. And, there's so many, you talk about it a little bit. It's easy to jump on a bandwagon for something that, oh my God, if you eat this, you're going to lose 30 pounds. And what it really is, I tell people this all the time now, it's little small things every day. It's not one big thing, right?
It's so true. I mean, it really comes down to conscious choices, right? Because we're not gonna get anywhere if we try to restrict
right,
in order to achieve some sort of higher level or state of being, or in order to achieve a wellness goal. Because ultimately restriction, and I talk about this a little bit in the beginning of the book, where we use the concept of practicing, right? Like a rehearsing of practicing for the main event. But in order to keep on getting, in order to get something right, or in order to learn how to do something, the goal is finding what's right for you, right? So in order to find what's right for you, you've got to practice, and practice means messing up sometimes, or messing up in the way that feels like I wish I hadn't had that. But every time you eat is really a chance to practice making the choices that feel truly right and truly nourishing for you, and to find that satiety, and to find that, feelings of energy, and feelings of revival almost from your dining experience. Like that's really what it's all about, and what I really sort of seek to bring into every page of the book. So
no, it's true. So y'all, this is the book, Dressing on the Side. I want you to go to my Instagram feed, and you'll see the cover of the book, and you're going to like me and like Jackie, and then you can enter to win. So we do have a question about, we touched on been eating pretty well during COVID, impact my weight is not being able to sleep well because of the stress. Can we talk about sleep and weight?
Yes.
So,
this is so tricky.
What's some insight on that, boss?
I like that. So I've got to say that, first of all, this is totally normal. And I can't even tell you how many times I'm hearing this. I probably hear this from someone at least once a day. And, and as we were just talking about, Virginia, both of us find this to still be a struggle. It is a struggle. It is really difficult. And the connection there is really that what happens when we're not getting enough sleep for us, right? Because, there's always different recommendations. There's the standardized kind of 7 hours a night, that would be great. But sometimes it's just not possible. And it's not possible because of life stage, or because of COVID, or because of a ton of other, factors going on in
life, because of life.
Right. Because of life. Exactly. Is that our fullness hormone levels go down, and our hunger hormones increase. So the effect that has on us is to some extent temporary, once we can get back to a place of, having a restful night of sleep. But it really makes that mindfulness component that much more important, right? It brings that much more to the forefront. And it also means that, the first thing that I would always give as advice for anyone feeling like this is challenging is to make sure that the other kind of patterns that you've established for yourself are in place. So not skipping meals, because, we're only kind of setting ourselves up to just go hard on a deep dive binge if we restrict, right? So not skipping meals, making sure you're staying super hydrated, because you don't want to confuse that thirst with hunger. If you're finding that is something I find so often in practice. And making sure that you're adding a piece of produce to every meal and snack. That automatically adds fiber. So you've also, gotten those vitamins and minerals that you need from the produce itself, but you've also added fiber and some water, which will help you to stay more satisfied. So I would say think about those three things first. And then there's this other component of it that is really about rest versus sleep, right? Because sometimes it can feel sometimes being physically active can feel restorative, right? That really can feel. So if that means just getting outside for a walk, it may not mean that you're able to go to CrossFit tomorrow, but it can mean that getting outside, getting some fresh air can feel restful to you. Then go for it and build that in instead.
No, that is great advice. And, you said something that made me think, I heard someone say last week, it's like, health and wellness is not a destination. It's a state of action.
Right.
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 And it was a guest, I know where I got it. It was a guest on Brene Brown.
Love that.
So love her. But it was, you know, and it really is a different mindset. And if you, you know, like if on social, you'll see people like, oh my God, I messed up. I have to start over. And it's like, it's just part of the process, right? It's just part of living healthy, eating healthy, exercising healthily. We've got lots of comments. Everyone's super excited. Thank you for the answer. And we've got, so we've got Lisa, we've got someone from Maine, Scott's here. Let's see, lots of folks here. So, so what is, let's talk a little bit, because it really is so smart about like dressing on the side. So that people just, let's just start with the title, because people think that, oh my God, if I have the dressing on the side, what does that accomplish really, right?
Right. Exactly. I mean, the biggest thing, so first of all, I feel like the little backstory about the title is that I had been searching, you know, my brain and just sort of trying to sit with it. And I was like, I was on a deadline for the title. I had 5 minutes before it was like the drop deadline of when I had to submit this. And I Googled annoying things people say when they're trying to lose weight, or annoying things people say when they're on a diet. And the internet gave me this gift, which was I'll have the dressing on the side. And I felt like that just summed it up so completely, because the truth is that, you know, we do have a serious, you know, and to bring it to some seriousness, we do have an obesity epidemic. I mean, 3/4 of Americans are overweight or obese. There are realities here.
Yes.
But ultimately, there is the fact that we are not a country that got to this 75% of us are overweight or obese because we were ordering spicy ginger miso on this enormous bed of chopped vegetables. It's because of, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, we didn't get there for that reason. Like, we're not here because you had too many bananas. Like, that's not a thing. So it's really like, when we just bring that into perspective a little bit more, it's really, first of all, any dressing or any condiment or anything that gets anyone to eat more produce more often, that's it. Not for that. Do it. Do more of that. And so thinking about it through the lens of like, let's just bring some reality back into this entire conversation, into the entire wellness dialogue here. Dressing on the side and other diet myths debunked felt like the right place to land.
I agree. And it's so funny when I read it, because I did order a salad last week and I ordered it on the side. But part of it is because a control freak, right? Food is a control. Totally. But sometimes like the kitchen will put too much, because it's too many calories, too much, because it wets the salad too much. Right.
I have this little button in somewhere in this book that is like, here are reasons why you might want the dressing on the side. And my personal go-to reason is usually that I want multiple dressings and I'd like to try different bites with different dressings. So then I put it on the side. So there is that. I must say that that's an important one.
So let's talk about because I think that this is something like, you know, we had a couple of questions about stress and sleep. Yeah. What about stress eating? Right. Let's talk about stress eating, because I'm guilty. I don't have any problem admitting it, you know, and I try, when I'm stress eating, I try to like eat blueberries or grape tomatoes or something like that. Like I just, if I'm going to graze, if I'm just gonna shove food in my mouth, then I try to make sure that it's something, things tactile, right? Like little berries. In something that's good for me, because it's I'm conscious of it. Right. So let's just share your insight on stress eating.
So, you know, I think what I really wanted to do with this book, and what I really want to do in general when speaking on this topic, is to first of all make sure that everyone is aware again that this is entirely normal, and that this is just a part. Stress eating is a part of life. Again, like you said, it's life. It's not like you could be not sleeping for you could be stressed and not even realize that you're stressed and you're stress eating. So we have to sort of come to this from that place of understanding that there are different reasons why why we stress eat, and we come to it for different reasons, but there are a number of things to consider once we're there. And that's what I really wanted to focus on, both in the book and in general, because once we're there, how can we kind of navigate this? So I give a number of swap examples in the book of like how to, kind of find the flavor of what it is that you really are craving or in the mood to eat. What are you really looking to feel from a flavor standpoint? What do you want to get out of that? And then also from the sheer volume standpoint, because a lot of us do just want that poppable, high volume but low impact sort of that kind of low impact snack that really feels like it can go a long way. So I give a number of recommendations, but what I often ask clients to focus on is, are you feeling like the only thing that's going to just solve this issue for me is that chocolate cupcake, right? Because it's important to kind of discern whether or not, if you really are and once you're there and once you're stressed, it's hard to tell, right? Like, do I really want to, why am I still eating? Oh, because I didn't have the Snickers that I was really in the mood for, right? So like it can be and that choice, to know that choice up front and say, yes, screw it, I'm going for the actual Snickers, I'm going for the real deal. That's a fantastic choice. And then the only advice I would give after that is enjoy it. Enjoy every bite and resist the urge to beat yourself up over it afterward. Right?
Beating up is terrible, right? It just makes it worse. And no, you do. You talk about, I love the biology, rule out biology before taking action, have a glass of water. I mean, I recommend that so much to people that, I don't have the education you do. All I have is like my life experience, right?
Exactly. Which is
have a glass of water.
Right.
Have a glass of water. I always say this too, like if you in the evening, if it's cocktail time or something like that, start with a glass of water. It's going to do multiple things. You might say, well, you know what? I don't want that wine after all. Right. And if you are having the wine, which is obviously it's empty calories, right? It's like, then you're hydrated, right? So I don't, the water is super smart. And then you talk about having a mild caffeine. And you didn't eat breakfast. All right, let's talk about this too. Oh my gosh, we could talk forever, and I don't think we have enough time to talk forever. But talk about like the fasting. Fasting has become a huge thing. I like to eat too much. I can't fast. It's not going to happen.
I agree, and I am curious to know people. It's just never going to happen for me. That's what I would like to know, especially because when you're caught up in something and you're doing a million things, and you're like, oh crap, like I forgot to. I didn't forget to eat, but like I've been doing so much that I never got a chance to have a proper meal. That's like the version of fasting that like can happen just by accident, right? It's just sort of by accident. But when you're consciously thinking about not imbibing food and drink, what are you going to want to consume your entire brain and your entire life with right after that, right? Like when the time is up, then it's very hard to make real conscious decisions. I would argue about anything on an empty stomach, but like really from a physiological standpoint, to start to then decide what you're going to have and how you're going to nourish yourself, that's challenging. And it also sets you up to feel that bottomless pit feeling, in your stomach, where you're just like, I just can't stop eating. I can't tell you how many times this is another one I hear probably once a day from a client, which is like, I just can't stop eating. I don't know why I'm hungry all the time. And then there's this idea that like something is wrong with you. But, eating consistently, I give the recommendation of every 3 to 4 hours, but really whatever feels truly consistent for you will do the trick. Eating consistently, staying hydrated, and making sure you're taking moments for activity and or rest / getting enough sleep. If we could all do that in a pipe dream, hopefully we could do that. But making sure that you've got those basics down can help put everything else into perspective. So I usually give that 3 to 4 hours, no more than 3 to 4 hours without having something. And I give the recommendation of making it a combo of protein and fiber, which there's plenty of research to support the idea that this combo will help you stay satisfied longer.
Yes, definitely. No, and I that bit of advice that you have about adding produce in every meal. I eat make certain that I have practically a salad with every meal or a vegetable. Or a lot of times what I'll try to do is like, it's not that I'm going carb free, but instead of having, we're so used to protein, vegetable, starch, I've just become where I often will have 2 vegetables, right? Like broccoli and green beans.
Right.
And the other day, I actually, I had a sandwich and I had some roasted green beans from the night before, and I put a little of wing sauce on them. It was really delicious. Like, it was like kind of spicy. And I had this moment, I had this thought when I was eating that lunch. Like, if you had told me 5 years ago that I would be preferring these green beans dipped in hot sauce over potato chips, I would have told you that you were crazy. But taste buds can change. And I thoroughly enjoyed those green beans, and I knew that they were good and good for me, and that those potato chips would not have been. But one of the things that's important to remember is that you can have potato chips, right?
Yes. It's so funny to think about. I don't know where that poor vegetable got such a bad rap, but I feel for the potato. I mean, it really is. It's the number one source of potassium in the American diet is potatoes. First of all, which is incredible and amazing, and also says a lot about, the places that we're actually getting our produce. But what's amazing about a potato is the blank canvas nature of it.
Right.
And potato chips, certainly in their one package, that 170 calorie, it really has actually, talk about a low impact snack. As long as you're having these choices in the sort of ways and the mediums that make it easier for you to eat the way that you want to eat, you're automatically on track for building healthier habits for life, right? And so what's amazing about a normal, not even a small bag, a normal size bag of potato chips, standard ounce, that's going to give you, it's really not so damaging as how we've, come to understand it. And interestingly, what I have also found to be one of those misnomers about or myths about chips and various other kind of snack foods, like salted nuts is another one of these, that these things that have the surface salt on them actually are a lot lower in sodium than many condiments, many types of foods that we cook with, right? Having that surface salt could actually really satisfy that salty craving that many of us have, without actually being a high sodium food at all. So, salted peanuts, I'm thinking that's technically a low sodium food at 140 milligrams a serving. It's really quite incredible, even though it tastes very salty to us.
No, sure. And nuts are so good for us, right? Like, and I love what you're talking about, like eating every 3 to 4 hours. That doesn't mean like a huge plate of food every 3 to 4 hours, right?
Right.
Just a little something. So we have a question about, that's great news. That's good. What happens if you're low on calcium, magnesium, and potassium? How do you replenish other than a supplement?
Okay, so right there, any veggie and just about any nut. So nuts, veggies, and really, when I say any veggies, I really mean just about any veggie is going to give you all 3 of those.
Oh, good.
And then, but especially leafy greens. That's where you'll get some of those real minerals that many of us are kind of seeking to help replete any losses that come from sweat or come from any other kind of health condition or what have you. So what's really important to think about is leafy green veggies, lots of fruit, veggies, and nuts and seeds will all have those minerals as well. Super, super easy to kind of also give you the combo of protein and fiber if you're having like banana and almond butter, peanut butter, cashew butter, anything like that. Perfect way to get a combo of all 3 of those right in there. And also any type of dairy product will give you some of those.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, everyone seems so excited and they're loving our tips, and I can't believe it, but I get to ask you the 5 questions. Okay.
Okay. I'm excited for this.
Okay. So, what is the last cookbook you've read or cooked from other than your own? But yours isn't really a cookbook, but what is the last like sort of food book? What are you reading?
Okay. So I have to say that what I'm sitting next to right now, in addition to all of your books, listen up, y'all, I gotta give Lighten Up Y'all really a shout out right there. But I also have to say that I'm sitting next to a cookbook from Boqueria restaurant here in New York, which is amazing and just beautiful. And they came out with a cookbook years ago, and I love just looking at that and thinking about all the various Mediterranean dishes that I would like to be making right now, and how much I'd like to go to Spain.
I know we can travel soon. Soon. So, you like to cook? What is one of your most indispensable cooking tools? What is your desert island cooking tool?
My desert island cooking tool is mini tongs. What can't they do? They can do any. You can use them as a spatula. You could use them as a fork if you needed to. You could. You can just open the fridge if you don't have any Purell. You can just open the door to the fridge with your tongs. They can do everything.
That's really great. Okay, so one of the things that's so important, and you talk about this a lot in your book, Dressing on the Side, right? So y'all go to the Instagram, is flavor. I mean, satisfaction and satiating, being satiated is so important. So sour, salty, bitter, sweet, or savory, what's your go-to flavor?
Bittersweet. I love
you put them together.
Bittersweet or that salty sweet combo. That would be my favorite. That would be my favorite way to get there. Yeah.
That is a good one. I don't know. I like bitter a lot too. I love like brassicas, all those, even as a kid, right? I love strong, bold flavors.
That like brininess, like that sort of umami flavor. Oh,
yeah. So okay, another question. What kind of content are you watching? Are you listening to a podcast? Are you watching some videos? Like, what's some food content that you'd love to share with us?
Okay, so I am obsessed with this podcast called Table Manners, which I could not suggest. Have you heard this yet?
No, I got to write it down. That's why I asked.
Okay, so I am so inspired by this duo who is Jessie Ware, who is a musician out of the UK, and her mom Lenny host this podcast together, and they really just talk about food and family and have food memories around the table and their best, their favorite. They just came out with a cookbook too somewhat recently, but they're based in the UK. So first, I find that the British accent between the two of them just is very soothing for me, and also feels like I would now like to make a sticky toffee pudding, and I never thought about making sticky toffee pudding before. It's given me a lot of new food ideas. So I definitely would recommend that.
No, that sounds cool. Yeah, I can't wait to check that out. And I do love looking to other countries, right, for inspiration. It's really nice because we have our own habits, and it's nice to break the habit. So you mentioned food memory, that you like listening to Table Manners because of food memory. Will you share with us a food memory of your own?
So I was just thinking about, because so I just got back from a little trip this last week, and my now husband and I were talking about when we were dating. We went on our first trip together was to Portland, Maine, which I would call, I think you would agree, perhaps the food capital of the world. Like. And right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing city.
It's amazing. And there's every street has like a new undiscovered place to kind of pop in and go check out. So what we decided to do was that we had it was the middle of the summer, and we had 3 different reservations, and we decided we're just going to do a crawl. We're doing a food crawl of Portland. And so we had the most amazing lobster, the most amazing oysters. We're both really big seafood fans, so this was really, truly the place for us. But there is this one restaurant in Portland called Duck Fat.
Yes.
These fries, right? I mean, what are those fries?
They're fried in duck fat.
They're fried in duck fat. I mean, what's going on? They're next level. And talk about exactly what I love the most in the world is having lots of dips, lots of sauces, lots of little like bites of lots of different things, and having many flavors at one sitting.
Yeah.
So I had about, I want to say 5 or 6 different dipping sauces with my duck fat fries.
Nice.
That was I'll never forget that one.
That's so nice. No, that makes me, Portland is wonderful. So Jackie, it's been so awesome talking to you. I can't recommend your book enough. I'm glad that I read it that I've been reading it, and I feel like it's super real and helpful for people. And it's real life advice. It's funny. Congratulations. And thank you for writing it.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here and to hang out with you today.
Yeah, so cool. Awesome. Listen, you take care.
You too.
And we will. We'll have some more side conversations. How's that sound?
I love it.
Okay, good. Listen, you take care and have a great weekend.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye. Y'all, that was so much fun. I could just keep talking to her for hours. So dressing on the side, make sure you go to the Instagram to win a free copy. And I cannot recommend this book enough. I just really think it's great. It's real. It's funny. Many of you that are watching that, that I've gone through this incredible health journey myself and have just lost 65 pounds. It's not easy all the time. No, it's not. But I eat what I want. I exercise. More mindfulness. It's just all good. And so this book, I really feel like is going to be helpful for me to continue on this journey. And I feel like it can be helpful to you. So if you don't win a copy, order it from your local independent bookstore. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see y'all next week. Okay. Bye-bye now. Bon appetit, y'all.